Good afternoon everybody and a very warm welcome to Ringwood South, and today I'm going to give you a bit of a loco update. Now in my previous videos I had mentioned I'd bought I had purchased three locos. One was the Class 47 green, which I briefly showed you. The second one is the one that's been viewed quite a lot, which is the Class 73 project. And so today we're going to talk about my third and final purchase that I bought recently, which is this Bachmann Class 205 DEMU with Kerno sound. And that's the product code, as you can probably see, and it's a Kerno exclusive. It's full green ends, and I got this off of eBay. Now, as you can see from the box is absolutely immaculate, and the bodywork is absolutely immaculate. And I opened it up very hopeful, and there was a bit of a surprise waiting in store for me, because the box was immaculate. Like I said, the body was immaculate, the sound worked, but unfortunately the sound just wasn't great. And before purchasing it, I was kind of oohing and ahhing about buying a second-hand sound fitted loco, and I think I've learnt a lesson here, in which case I probably won't buy any more second-hand fitted locos, because you really just don't know what you're going to get. And I got this for a decent price, and compared to what I would have paid for this brand new fitted with sound, I probably saved, I think it was about £50 from what I paid for this. I think it was, yeah, I think it's about roughly £50 I saved. So if I was to buy the equivalent of this from Kerno with sound, it would have cost me another 50 quid. So I eventually got it home, I stuck it on the track, I fired her up, and I was a bit disappointed, to be honest, because I love the sound of the Thumper, but unfortunately the sound was very, very crackly. It's very tinny, and it just didn't sound right. And I wasn't sure. I assumed it was a speaker problem, or it could have been a cable problem, a wiring problem. So I could have sent it back. That would have been the easiest thing to do. But then I thought, well, I kind of looked at what the options would have been, because I really wanted a green one. And the other green ones without sound, just a standard Thumper, is about 230 onwards, and that's without sound. So as it so happens, I had a couple of speakers spare, and I pretty much thought that I could repair it and do something with it, and it was a really big chance on my part. And it was also quite scary on my part, as I'll get into. And also, it would have been a lot easier just to send it back, to be honest. But the good news is it's now up and running, and it's now sorted. And it sounds much better to what it was. I still think that ideally this is the wrong kind of speaker to put in this unit, because I do have one of these mega bass speakers, and I've got one of these, and this is the actual speaker that came out of the Thumper. So before we get into all of that, let's just have a look at it and see what you get. So this is the trailing car unit, and the trailing end is very similar to the 416, and in fact the EPBs that I had actually chipped up by Paul. And I don't know if any of you guys remember, but I did say that chipping them was very tricky, and it's a really painful process. So I let Paul do them for me, And now I've had an idea of what it's like myself to do it, and I can really sympathise. So this is how it looks like. This is the driving unit. Sorry, the non-driving unit, and it's beautiful. It's just full green, a bit like the EPB, and it works. The lights were all working and everything like that, so that was fine. To be fair, I haven't connected it up since I actually tested the sound. When I tested the sound, I did actually test the lights and they were working, so I assume that the connection is still good between the two. But well, I guess we'll find that out. Hopefully it will all be good. So that's that. So I'll put that on the layout for now. Also, you get a bag of bits, you get additional screws, you get a blanking plate, and you also get the seating. And that seating is basically where the speaker is. So if you don't have a speaker, you could put the seating back in, and then afterwards it just looks as good as new. You also get the paperwork for it, and you also get the sound functions for it. Now, the sound functions, it says it's by, I think it's an ESU. I'm sure I read it somewhere that said it was an ESU. Yes, it's got an ESU lock sound decoder 4 on it. And as you can see, just here are all the sound functions for it. And they're very simplistic. There isn't a huge amount. And to be honest with you, I actually prefer it like that. My Class 20 is exactly the same. It's got about 12 functions, but this one I think has got, yeah, this one's also got 12, which I think is perfectly reasonable, to be honest. Sometimes you can have too many, I think. But this seems to have the essentials that you need. And then you've got the infamous diagram along here, which tells you how to remove the body. Now, this body diagram is extremely simplistic, to say the very least. And quite frankly, it has taken me nearly just as long to take the body off as it has to do the repair on it. And in total, I spent 3 hours doing it this morning to try and get it working. And the first hour was just trying to get the body off, and probably maybe even slightly longer. So this is the driving one, and I'll take this driving one out. So this is the driving unit. And the decoder is somewhere in the middle, and the speaker is at the back. And you can't really notice the speaker at the back, and it's got a nice little enclosure in it, which makes it really nice. It sounds better than what it did before anyway. I did, like I said, consider putting in a mega bass speaker into it, but quite frankly, it would just literally ruin the inside of the passenger seating area, because all you'll see through the window is a big block of where this speaker is. So I decided to swap the speaker like for like, because I had a spare speaker anyway, when I swapped out one of the other speakers for a better one anyway. So what the problem is that according to the diagram, there are 2 screws at the front, which is one there and one there, and then it's just clips down the side. But this is an absolute nightmare to get the body off, even just to fit a decoder into it. And this is something to bear in mind. Even if you're not planning on putting sound in it and you buy one of these and you're going to put a decoder in it, even just getting a decoder into it is an absolute nightmare. Like I said, I've spent 3 hours on this, and like I said, the first hour, maybe slightly more, was just trying to get this body off. There is literally no room anywhere to get your fingers in there. You can't get a bit of card in there, and it's just been you have to be very patient, to be honest with you. You have to be really patient to get this body off, because it really was an arduous task to get the body off of this thing. And you got this little lip which runs down there, and that lip gives you a slight gap to the body, but that isn't enough to fit anything through. You then got to be careful not to damage any of the undercarriage and not to break any of the parts and fuel boxes, battery boxes that are underneath. And eventually, when I thought I got this body off and the rest of it, it didn't actually mention there was a further 2 clips right on the very end which stopped the body from just lifting off, and it was an absolute nightmare to get this body off. So I eventually got the body off, and as it turns out, like with many sound decoders, you have basically the decoder, 2 wires and a speaker. On this, the actual decoder hasn't actually got any wiring to the speaker itself. It doesn't go direct to the speaker. What it does is the speaker wire is soldered to the PCB board, and then obviously the decoder goes into the PCB board and creates the sound and makes the connection that way. So there's no direct contact between the decoder and the speaker. So that was something else I didn't know. So anyway, I managed to swap out the speaker, and it turns out that it was better, but it still wasn't great. So I've ended up swapping out the speaker. I've ended up changing the wiring that was attached to the other speaker, which is this one, was still attached to it. So what I did is I removed the original 2 wires as well as the speaker, and basically soldered this speaker with its wires directly to the PCB board, which is very, very scary because I didn't want to damage the PCB board, and luckily there was no damage done and it's working. And I have to say, there was a heart-stopping moment because I put it back together and it didn't work. Before I put it all together, I just tested it and it just didn't work. As it turned out, one of the wires I hadn't soldered tightly enough that it just come undone, so I had to redo that. I was so paranoid about putting too much solder on it or overheating the PCB, I didn't want to damage it, so I literally just touched it to try and get it, and it just didn't hold the first time around, so the second time it has done. And then you've got a lighting bar that runs up the top, which makes a connection with the interior seating, and that had to be cut. That had to come out in order to get to the wiring to the PCB board. So all in all, it was a very, very arduous task, and it's worth it now because it's done and I'm a lot happier with it. And I think if I need to take this body off now, it hopefully should be better, because the 2 main clips that were right at the back that were giving me the most jip, I cut away and got rid of those to make it easy to remove the body. So hopefully I won't have to do it anyway, and hopefully it's just fine now. But it's done, and I'm glad, and it's now running. So we're now going to get on, and I'm going to show you what it sounds like. But like I said, it's just kind of like a bit of a buyer beware, really, that if you're going to buy sound locomotives on eBay, just think very carefully at the possible issues that may arise. I did think about it before I bought it. I kind of took a chance, and it kind of backfired to a point. But I was strong enough and brave enough to sort of actually take a soldering line direct to a PCB board on this to actually rewire it and put a new speaker in it. And now she sounds a lot better and a lot cleaner and a lot clearer than what she did before. I still think on startup there is a little bit of it could be better. But I don't think it's to do with the decoder or the wiring. I just think that the speaker itself, I think, could do with a better speaker. And I think if I put a Zimo speaker into it, it probably would have turned out a lot more clearer, I think. But all the sounds, the door slamming, the signal buzzers and everything like that, and it's actually running now, it's actually running a lot clearer. So it's a lot better overall, so I'm very pleased with it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook it up onto the layout, and then we're going to fire it up. So stand by, and next thing you'll see it on the layout. So bye for now. So as you can see, my my Thumper's now hooked up and it's at the station. So now it's time to it set up. So she's now facing the wrong way. So let me just go and get the sound sheet before we start. So sound wants to start it up. Sound 2. So that's the horn. So that definitely sounds louder. Then we've got the door slam. That's the buzzer. And then we've got the guard's whistle, which is F10. It definitely sounds clearer to what it was before, but I think it could actually do with a DEMU speaker. Now, also on F12 on this, it's got, you can turn the volume off, which is what that is. Now, what I think what the benefit from this is if I can adjust the CD settings to turn the volume down, which I think is why it's a bit crackly still. I think it'll benefit to turn the sound down on it. But I'm not really too sure how to do that. So anyway, so that's kind of like where we're at with my third unit. My third purchase. I'm much happier with it. Like I said, I might put a DEMU speaker in it, and I think that would be a lot better for it, to be honest. Then this is just a standard speaker. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I will speak to you soon, and in the meantime I'll shut her down. So bye from Ringwood South.